racing in the rain, racing in the rain, or however that song goes. That's what happened today. Though technically it wasn't racing in the rain, it was racing in the wet conditions, but oh my goodness. I would say, where do I even start? But we know where I'm going to start. We're talking about the rain and the weather and the wet weather tires and NASCAR not making up their minds. There is so much to talk about in this video. I'm going to miss something, I promise you. But tomorrow we can talk about it on our normal weekly live stream. New Hampshire, home of the lobsters. Well, once again, this race was so chaotic, so freaky, but for reasons we haven't seen before. We've seen rain tires on the oval before, once at North Wilkesboro for the All-Star Open or the All-Star Qualifier heat things, and then once earlier this year at Richmond, but it was only for about 20 laps or so. Well, today, the last 82 laps of this race were run in the wet weather tires. Yes, the first 220 or so laps of this race were run under dry conditions, under normal racing conditions. Then it started to rain. Just a little bit, though, and then it turned into a mist. And then NASCAR didn't want to run the wet weather tire, even though we had it. And then a severe thunderstorm hit the track. It poured, wind, lightning, all that fun stuff. If you were at the track, that must have been rough, unless you were undercover. But anyways, then that passed through, and that was it for the rain for the day. All of a sudden, we are back, baby. Let's put these wet weather tires on and let's roll. Not so easy, because we have such little time, or little experience, I should say, in NASCAR with wet weather tires on ovals. We really don't know what's going to happen with tire wear and with the guys staying out, some opting to take the slicks. That it's really too complicated to kind of let it play out in a sense. So NASCAR have held the team's hands in a sense these first few races, racing in the rain on ovals. On the road courses, it's like every other motorsport, you know? You have the option when to put on the slick tires. You have the option when to put on the wet tires. But ultimately on the ovals, NASCAR throws a yellow when it rains. They tell you you have to put on the slicks or you have to put on the wet weather tires. And it got very confusing. The rain makes everything so much more fun when you can actually run on it. I saw lines today run at New Hampshire I did not even know could be run at New Hampshire. I'm talking below the apron, edging the grass, the mowers, the lawn service, whoever does New Hampshire Motor Speedway will not have to go there because they did the edging for them. They were running up by the wall like Kyle Larson does at Homestead. They were running in the middle, trying to get wetness, trying to keep those tires cold so they could last as long as they possibly could. And NASCAR mandated saying you have to have those tires, but they also mandated when you could pit, when you could switch these tires out. And it made the process very frustrating, okay? As I said, racing in the rain is so much fun. It creates a lot more action. It allows a lot of movement throughout the field. We saw Justin Haley up at the front of the field. Well, he was technically there before the rain, but still, we saw him up there. We saw Josh Berry, Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece making moves in the rain. They moved up 10-plus positions on the opening restart. We saw guys like Denny Hamlin fall back on the restart. So much movement, so many different guys at the front of the field, going to the back of the field. Everything's happening. But the thing that ruined it for me was NASCAR helicopter parenting, in a sense. You know, you know, if you ever watched Modern Family, you understand that reference. But, you know, the NASCAR just overbearing these teams in terms of telling them, yeah, you can pit now. Yeah, you can put on tires now. And they even started to contradict themselves at the end of this race. During one of the cautions, by the way, these cautions had way too many pace laps. Just way too many. We burned a lot of laps. Look at the caution chart here. And there was one caution where NASCAR, the caution comes out, someone spins, someone wrecks, whatever, and they say, no one changed tires. Like, we're not doing that this caution. Like, everyone stay out, or if you're going to pit, you can only make adjustments and add fuel to the car, but no tires for anyone. Then about 3 laps later on the caution, after enough complaints, they said, actually, you know what? That was weird. That sounds like a good idea. Let's put some tires on the car. Why don't we? Opted to put tires on the car. Cool. Epic. Like, can we make up our minds here? Once again, I get we're in the early stages. NASCAR wants to play it safe, but we have to stop holding the team's hands. They are big boys and girls. I literally said this yesterday. They are professional race teams. They are professional engineers and mathematicians with all these degrees. At some point, we have to let them go. We have to let them discover whatever they need to discover themselves. The drivers, they need to push the limits, and they got to know where the limit is. At some point, these teams, these drivers, they've got to figure it out themselves. And ultimately, it just frustrated me because the ending of this race could have been fantastic. A couple guys taking a gamble on slick tires in the last 20 laps or so. A couple of guys, maybe staying out on old wet tires versus some coming and getting new wet tires. And ultimately, just the forced strategy kind of almost ruined it in a sense for me. I still had fun watching it, but just it got way too confusing. Way too many rules. Way NASCAR overbearing. Helicopter parenting way too much. It was annoying. It was bothering me. And that's just how I feel about it. I love that we have wet weather tires on these ovals, but why we don't have windshield wipers, why we don't have mud flaps on these cars to run in those conditions, and then also why we don't allow the teams to have their own strategies. Just it's getting frustrating at this point. I think we are to the point. These teams know what they're doing. These drivers know what they're doing. They've raced on the wet on ovals multiple times now. We got to let them figure it out themselves. We got to stop mandating when they can put tires on it. Stop mandating when they got to come pit and all that stuff. And we just got to say, all right, it's up to you. If you think it's ready for slicks, go for it. If it doesn't work out for you, sucks. If you wreck yourself, not our fault. You're the ones that made the decision. So NASCAR at some point, they got to let go. Despite this, despite all the altering strategies, despite literal rain and storms and everything else, Christopher Bell still won at New Hampshire. He was the safe bet coming into this weekend, a heavy favorite, by the way. He won the Xfinity race yesterday. He's won all four of his Xfinity starts at New Hampshire. He now has 2 wins in the Cup Series at New Hampshire. It's his 3rd win of 2024. They're starting to get hot right now. Like, they won at the Coca-Cola 600. They had winning speed at Gateway before their engine issues late. And then last week at Iowa, another top 5 finish. This team is starting to figure it out, and they have speed at tracks that are similar to Phoenix, which is where the championship race is. And the more playoff points you start to rack up, that's going to be very good heading into Phoenix. So Christopher Bell starting to establish himself as a championship threat, as a championship favorite. It's not that he wasn't a championship threat before, but as a favorite, I would say now. He's made 2 straight championship 4s, trying to make it 3 straight championship 4s. Let's look at the results of this race. This is going to be freaky. Christopher Bell is your winner. As I said, his 3rd win of the season. He won his stage today, so 6 playoff points on the day. Led the most laps, led 149 laps on the day. What a day for Christopher Bell and team. Once again, as I said, he dominates here at New Hampshire. I don't know what it is about this place, but he owns the facility, basically. All these wins, all these laps led, all these stage wins, whatever he has to do. Christopher Bell, he has this place figured out. If they ever make this a championship race, Christopher Bell will win 10 championships. But yes, Christopher Bell is your winner, his 3rd win of the season. I made a poll a couple of days ago asking you who you thought was going to be the first 1 to 4 wins this year. A lot picked Larson, Hamlin, and Byron with 3 wins, but a few of you picked Christopher Bell. Seems like you knew what you were talking about, because Christopher Bell now just 1 win away from 4 on the season. As I said, he ties those other 3 drivers I just mentioned with wins on the year. SHR with a great day. Chase Briscoe finishes in 2nd place. Was terrible in the dry. Got lapped a couple of times. But ultimately in the rain, I don't know what it was, but he figured it out. Made his way up through the field. Genuine, raw passing ability. And he made his way up to 2nd at the end. He raced his teammate Josh Berry really hard for the win at one point, but at the end it ultimately ended up being for 2nd. Josh Berry finishes 3rd. Might have had a shot at his first Cup win if Chase Briscoe wasn't side by side with him for those last 2 laps. If Berry could have cleared him. That second to last restart, Berry was within just a couple tenths of a second. I think he could have given Bell the bumper. Ultimately, a caution came out. Berry, and then on that last restart, as I said, he was racing Chase Briscoe really hard. Side by side, didn't really have an opportunity to go have a shot at Christopher Bell. So it's third for Josh Berry, but a great day for SHR. Berry had speed in the wet and the dry. It was even involved in an incident where he and Corey LaJoie made contact, and I think he got into the wall or LaJoie got into the wall, but they made a lot of contact. He had a bunch of right side damage, but Berry able to rally for third. Kyle Larson finishes fourth, got yelled at by his spotter today. And the dry got used up by Denny Hamlin a few times, not the first time that's happened. Kyle Larson's spotter came over the radio and said, the reason that he runs over you like that is because you let him and you don't do anything about it. And Kyle Larson told him to shut up. That's the censored version. But Kyle Larson finishes fourth. I think if I read correctly on the Twitter, Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott now tied for the points lead. I think Kyle Larson has that points advantage or that tiebreaker. So Kyle Larson gets the points lead back. Fifth place, Chris Buescher, great day for him, a top 5 finish, and he is on that playoff bubble. Didn't score any stage points, but he did get a top 5. Sixth place, Tyler Reddick. The strategy worked out for him, was able to stay out, able to run long on that last caution before the rain. Maintained the lead, held the lead for a few restarts as everyone started wrecking. Then the rain hit, was able to stay in the top 10 the rest of the day, finished 6th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 7th. I don't know how he got there, but back-to-back top 10s for Ricky. John Hunter Nemechek 8th. Don't know how he got there, but under caution, he was running through the grass to get moisture and to cool down his tires. That strategy worked. 8th place for John Hunter. 9th place, Martin Truex Jr. was backwards into the wall earlier in this race. Finishes in the top 10. Ross Chastain spun at one point in this race. Top 10 finish for him. I mean, this is crazy. Ryan Preece 11th. Great day for him. He was on fire in the rain. Todd Gilliland led 19 laps in this race. Played the strategy right, was able to get into the front, was running top 5 when the rain hit, and stayed in the top 5, top 10 the rest of the race. Ultimately finishes 12th at the end there. 13th, Eric Jones. Great day for Legacy Moto Club, by the way. 14th, Harrison Burton. Back-to-back top 20s for him. Was in the top 10 at one point in this race, or for a bit of this race there at the end in the rain. 15th, Michael McDowell. Kind of wiped himself and Blaney out of contention late in this one, but he ends up 14th. Good for him. Or 15th. Ty Gibbs, 16th. 17th, Carson Hocevar. Chase Elliott, 18th. Keeps that top 20 streak alive. When it was raining, he was 21st, and I was like, wow, his top 20 streak is going to end at New Hampshire in the rain in 21st position, but that is not the case. He actually led some laps today. Started on pole, but other than that, just ran top 10. He's up 18th, obviously. Austin Cindric, 19th. 20th, Ty Dillon. Good run for Ty Dillon. 21st, Daniel Suarez. Kaz Grala, 22nd. 23rd, Corey LaJoie. 24th, Denny Hamlin. As I said, once the rain hit, he just couldn't go anywhere. 25th, Ryan Blaney, as I said, got wiped out by Michael McDowell late there. 26th, William Byron, irrelevant today. 27th, Noah Gragson was involved in a wreck. Brad Keselowski, 28th, involved in a wreck. Justin Haley, 29th. This does not reflect Justin Haley's day. Was top 10, top 5 for the majority of the second half of this race. I kid you not, in a Rick Ware racing car. We talked about earlier this week how much Justin Haley has improved Rick Ware Racing, how much Rick Ware Racing has improved with Justin Haley, however you want to put it. He was top 5, top 10 at the end of this thing, and if not, he was 11th or 12th, and he got wiped out on the last lap. I don't know how it happened, but basically he spun out. Somehow he spun. I don't even know if he was wiped out. He might have spun himself out. He spun out on the last lap, and he ends up 29th. Not a reflection of their day. They should have had a top 10, honestly. Zane Smith, Daniel Hemrick, Joey Logano. Major playoff implications until they weren't. Joey Logano had a top 5 day going, scored 17 stage points on the day, was building a gap to that playoff cutoff line, actually entered today below it, but ultimately he got involved in a wreck. He just locked up heading into turn 1, took Chase Elliott with him, had a broken toe link, had to go a few laps down, but thanks to others wrecking, he was able to come back and finish 32nd. 33rd, Austin Dillon. 34th, Bubba Wallace was taken out by Noah Gragson and decided to not really retaliate, but send a message on pit road, which I don't think NASCAR will like, and that is a major playoff implication for him. He was above the cutoff line heading into today, but now I don't think he is. We'll look at that in a minute. And then 35th, Kyle Busch. Every week I say, how can this season get worse? And then it gets worse. So at Gateway, he wrecked while in the top 10 fighting for stage points. Then at Sonoma, he was running top 5, got dumped on the last lap and ran out of gas and finished like 12th. And then last week at Iowa, once again, a good top 10, top 15 day going, and the car just decides to break down. And then this week, worse than any of the previous mention. Immediately fell to the back, went a lap down very quickly, then went 2 laps down after a caution, and then wrecked once, then wrecked twice, and then when we went under the pace laps for the rain, well, he wrecked again. Everyone was on the wet weather tires, and Kyle Busch said, I'm going to hit the wall, and that was it. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Kyle Busch. 36th, Alex Bowman, speaking of the bubble, he was like 70 points, 66 points above the cutoff line, and he blew an engine very early in this race. Thankfully, he was able to actually not lose that many points because, as I said, Bubba wrecked, Logano wrecked, Kyle Busch wrecked. Like, everything kind of went good for Alex Bowman there in a sense, if you think about it. But now let's get a good look at that juicy playoff grid. As you can see, all those winners are in. I'm not going to read them all. Martin Truex Jr., he is well in. Raj Chastain is pretty safe. Ty Gibbs is pretty safe. Alex Bowman's technically within a race, but I'd say he feels decent right now. Same thing for Chris Buescher, made up a lot of points today. Joey Logano is plus 13. Not exactly safe, but he feels all right considering their last few weeks. Bubba Wallace not in a great spot. Chase Briscoe made up a lot of points today. Kyle Busch is in panic mode. Josh Berry behind, I would say you're in must-win territory. Yeah, that was a crazy day at New Hampshire. Once again, I hope NASCAR can tighten up these rain rules, get it figured out at some point. If not, well, that sucks. But thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, tomorrow, the Monday after New Hampshire, we're going to talk about it all, anything I missed. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one.